Winter has come to Château de Pican. It's the time we huddle together in one room and burn the floorboards for warmth. Pican, the wondrous and mysterious beauty we call home, has decided to embrace the season and frost it up on the inside. Fortunately, this was not the bedroom we sleep in. Interestingly, it is the black magic room. Coincidence? A big warm yet still cold in the toes welcome to you all this new Yearington. Yes, if you're watching this you made it through Christmas, the what do we do now days that follow, and then finally the New Year's Eve parties that I'm sure you all threw, seeing in the new year as the forlorn Christmas tree in the corner looks a little overdressed for the occasion. Throwing caution to the wind, Jane and I were living the true Chateauverse rock and roll lifestyle, being in bed by 9 with upset stomachs. So here I am drying my January, stoically I might add, not in any way complaining, binging on chocolate or dreaming of sitting by the fire with a steaming mug of hot chocolate and Baileys. Our productivity is halved, quartered probably. By the time we've dragged ourselves out of bed, fed the beasts and imbibed a gallon or so of muddy coffee, it's usually mid-morning and time for a shower. Easier said than done as it happens. Welcome to the mysterious case of the exploding shower screen.
I was just thinking that nothing has gone wrong in a while, and I was just heading for a shower in the East Wing suite that we use the shower in the secret bathroom. Anyway, I went in to have a shower, and lo and behold, there had been an explosion. Yeah, shower screens exploded. I'll go and tell Jane. Jane?
Yeah?
I've got a bit of bad news.
What's happened?
You better come look at it, there's a problem in the shower. It's a bit of an explosion.
You're joking.
But,
What do you mean?
well, just have a look. Have a look in there. What do you think happened?
It just looks like it's exploded. It's really bizarre.
We haven't been in here, so...
It's been completely untouched since we last had a shower. Do you remember Linda, back in England? She said she was once standing in a shower and it completely disintegrated and shattered, and she was left standing in a pool of glass. And she thought it was a poltergeist. I think it was too. And you have been messing about with the black magic stuff, so...
So you think it's a poltergeist?
Yeah, that would be my first guess.
Right. The Grey Lady of Château de Pican.
Definitely strikes again. But in all seriousness, I think if we take some pictures and show those to Hudson Reed, who supplied it, I can only assume it will fall under their guarantee.
Restless spirit or a flaw in the manufacturing process? We'll let you know what happens later on. We also had another calamity. Lord Percy himself, who spends his days in his favourite Christmas gift, a box that once contained bananas, didn't come home for breakfast. Cue us roaming the grounds and walking up and down the road in our dressing gowns like a couple of wee willy winkies, shouting his name at the top of our voices. An hour later, he wandered out of the garage, completely oblivious to our emotional distress, head held high, demanding to be fed. This Christmas I treated myself to an upgrade. I bought a large mitre saw in November which was wildly inaccurate, so I sent it back and bought a slightly smaller but much more accurate one. It immediately reduced the time it took me to cut each piece of wooden trim, and leaving me far more time to eat chocolate on the sofa. This week we're trying to get back into the swing of things. We need to make progress in the creaky bedroom as there's plenty of renovation to finish before we open for holiday bookings this year. If we can get close to completing the panelling, we'll be happy. I'd like to put another coat of lime plaster on the wall and also sort out the wiring for the shower room light. But first things first, I've got to finish the decorative wood trim. And just like that, it was done.
Hello and welcome to Find of the Day at Château de Pican. This sorceress's eye has got a convex mirror in the middle. Hundreds of years ago, people thought that mirrors were themselves magical, and here the properties of the convex mirror are that you can see the whole room and you can see things behind you. So you can see why people might have thought this had extraordinary properties. Some thinking is that it repelled the evil eye, or it enabled surveillance even when you weren't watching it. It was still surveilling people you wanted to have watched. This is definitely a reproduction created for style, but behind you can probably see it's made of wood, and if you look very closely, the tips of the rays of sun are almost certainly hand carved. So a rough idea of date would be mid-20th century. So it's not a mass-produced item from the late 20th century, neither is it an old antique. The question is, does it fit over the fireplace in here? Fans of Emily in Paris will have seen a modern starburst mirror in the Savoir offices, available to buy from John Lewis. A golden statement piece. It's quite arresting. Does it work? You will have noticed this Renoir print here. We had to have a picture there because behind it is a manifold that had to be covered over. So we'd love to hear your comments. What do you think of the mirror? Do you think it works in this space?
In the summer months, the dogs love to cool off in the river, especially Tinkerbell, who likes to swim properly, whilst Bunty prefers to paddle. This river walk is a pleasure in all seasons, and even in January some spaniel paddling occurs. Here, Tinkerbell is so drawn to the camera, a bit like her strawberry blonde papa Rory, that she crashes into her more bashful sister Tiger Lily. Slowed down, you can hear the ferocity of this attack. Last week, after heavy rains, the river was higher than we've seen it. Rory was confident that the dogs would not attempt to go into the fast-moving waters, but I was sufficiently concerned to put Tinkerbell on the lead. I dreaded seeing her sailing down the river towards the weir at a rate of knots that we would have been unequal to, and she's plenty daft enough.
I'm up in the attic or loft or the roof space, whatever you want to call it, because I've got to lower a cable, electric cable, all the way down from this floor down to the floor below, through the floor, all the way down to the floor below to the bathroom in the creaky bedroom to the shower room, because I need to get a light fitting there, and I can't do it without any other way without causing a lot of problems and cutting holes and channeling and through ceilings and things like that. So the only way I can think of is to bring it down from the loft, and I'll find a permanent live neutral earth etc up here for other lights, and I'll come off that, or an electrician will. I'm not necessarily going to do it myself, but I'll get the wire in position. So that's what I'm doing.
The single hardest part was getting the wires down through the cavity from the loft into the floor beneath. Once I'd found the end of the wire, it was much easier to feed it through the channel cut for the waste pipes from the second floor down to the first, and through the wall into the creaky bathroom.
And the wiring is now into the stud wall, so the light fitting is going to be wall mounted sconce. That isn't how the wiring ends, because I've remembered that I need to cut a hole through this wall and put in an extractor fan. So there's going to be extra wiring, it's going to be a bit more fiddly, but that has to happen fairly soon as well.
The last job in the shower room for now was to fit the missing plasterboard above the shower cubicle, ready for plastering.
We finally put the two Connemara boys in the same field. Harry and Dizzy have been pulling faces at each other across the partition in the barn for 9 months, so it was really lovely to see them playing together.
We've been having difficulty finding skirting board that we like or we feel is good enough quality. What I can get is pine board that is a relatively reasonable price. It's bigger than I want, so it actually works out. I buy a larger board and I cut it exactly down the middle, and it's the height we want. Because I don't have a sort of tabletop router jig, I've just got a standard router. I'm going to have to sort of sandwich a load of boards together with a gap in between, and then hopefully I'll be able to just use the router without it wobbling all over, because I'll be using it on the edge. So I'm going to experiment with that and see if the router bit I've got will just slide in nicely along one edge, and I'll create the create the skirting board of our dreams. Well, something's gone wrong. It's a terrible mess. You can see what it's trying to be. It sort of starts off right here and actually looks really quite nice. But then something goes wrong and it's just chewed up. It's gone into different channels and then here it's completely out. So I wonder if the bit came loose slightly.
The bit hadn't come loose, the adapter collet was causing the cutting bit to oscillate. So for now, there's no skirting board.
Every time Rory adds a bit more trim, I need to paint it to match, as well as sanding and second coating the previous paintwork. It's not dramatic progress, but it's very satisfying to create a smooth, solid finish.
I'd told myself I was going to plaster this wall this week, so there was no excuse not to do it. It's a second coat of lime plaster that I hope will smooth out my first attempt, which ended up really quite rough looking. I'm not using a standard lime plaster, it's a particular kind of finishing lime plaster that Jane bought and I'm hoping it will polish up fairly smoothly. I'm not entirely sure why I felt I struggled with the first coat, but it might be because the wall's sublayer is clay, which is super absorbent. If I didn't wet the wall enough before I started, then the clay can suck the moisture out of the lime. It might explain why I felt I didn't have very long to work the first coat.
The wall's done. It looks a lot better than it did, but it's still not perfect. But then I think lime plastered walls generally aren't meant to look like perfectly polished, pinked gypsum walls.
A quick reminder, this is how the wall looked before plastering. I think it's come a long way since then and looks infinitely better now.
I've got a little bit to do above the door, but I've run out of plaster. I'm not going to mix any more. There's still a bit of the back of some old wallpaper above the door that hasn't been scraped off fully, so I'm going to have to get that off before I go along there and tidy it up as I feel is necessary. But that's one thing ticked off the list, so I'm hoping there won't be too much more to do to tidy this up before it can just be painted with whatever colour it's going to be painted.
In the new year, it is traditional to eat galette des rois, which is a frangipani pastry confection to mark the arrival of the three kings. Claude and Karina brought us one to try. Whoever finds the little figure hidden inside the pastry is crowned the king. Of course, it was Rory.
Spaniels aren't having money. She detects a moment of lack of vigilance.
We're going to wash it.
She can just eat pie. Krampus, by the way.
Krampus is sort of it's like this. It's like the opposite of Father Christmas. If you're naughty,
Evil.
Krampus is this
Evil
sort of
Father
slightly
Christmas.
beastly monster, but
the important thing is, you're the king.
I'm the king.
Having discovered a shower door turned to glass, dust and debris, Rory cleared away most of the glass, fitted a spare shower door and was showering about half an hour later. Amazing. And I sent photos of the explosion to the suppliers, Hudson Reed, who are honouring their 10-year guarantee on the glass, with a new enclosure now on its way to us.
Next time on Chateau Capers, I have my head in the toilet, again, and I hope to get to wear my Super Rory helmet as we plan to go skiing.